What you're seeing is me frantically prep my camera gear for a day where I had 3 different shoots in the same day. I used all this gear in very different ways to satisfy the needs of 3 different clients. I'm going to take you behind the scenes point of view. This is what I look like. This is what you look like. Here we go. This is set up for our very first job at 8 a.m. This is a presentation given by our company, an educational presentation. And so this, the speaker here at this presentation, which you can barely see, is our company CEO, Caitlin Ice. And also in attendance is Katie, who's our social media and strategy lead. She's sitting in the audience right in front of the camera. I'll point her out to you later. But so the very first thing I did was I got the R5 Mark II on sticks. The R5 Mark II is covering the wide angle of the presentation in 8K. And the first thing I'll say about the equipment is that the R5 Mark II got set up so fast on sticks, ready to roll with wireless audio, that I actually had enough time to set up a second camera. So the second camera you're seeing is the C70, and that's covering the tight angle with a 70 to 200. So I got both of these cameras up on sticks with wireless audio in about 15 minutes. I was really impressed with that. So this is what I look like in this situation. I'm monitoring audio through these athletic earphones, which is just like a svelte setup that I like. And I'm actually monitoring audio directly from the receiver of the Rode Wireless Pro, which is the wireless system that I use. So the receiver that Caitlin's wearing is capturing the 32-bit audio. That's what I'll use when I mix the presentation together. And so I'm not monitoring to confirm transmission or anything like that. I'm just monitoring to make sure that her microphone isn't like falling off. And then when I do this, I have all this extra mobility so that I can walk between the cameras, as opposed to feeding the receiver into a camera and then monitoring off of a camera. And this is what that footage looks like all cut together. So this is the wide angle in 8K, and then this is the tight angle.
Those questions before you move forward with your business.
And then this view of just the presentation is actually cut out of the 8K from the wide angle. That's why I recorded that way. And so because several people expressed disbelief over the overheating result that I demonstrated on my R5 Mark II overheating video, this is the R5 Mark II is recording in a fairly warm room, actually at 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see from the screen, it has been recording for about an hour. So we're approaching the end of this presentation with in 8K 24 with no overheating indication whatsoever. Not so much as a warning, not even the temperature degree thing, nothing. So I had to wash my car. This is not a vanity so that I can roll up in a fresh, clean, squeaky clean car. There's actually an important reason that I have to do this on shoot days, which I'll get back to later. Filled up on gas, and that gave me just enough time to stop in the office so we could walk through the brief for the next shoot. Arriving to unload for the next shoot, note the squeaky clean bumper. This is a tip for anyone who's a little fresher at this than me. I can't tell you how many times I've been burned by having a dirty vehicle and having to do this unload procedure and then walk around for the rest of the shoot, wedding, dress clothes, whatever, with just bands of schmutz all across my clothes from interacting with the vehicle during the loadout procedure. So what I'm prepping for here is a content shoot at a boutique, which is right here, but I paused the frame here to show you this crazy gradient that my GoPro has placed across the sky from basically purple through green to pure white. That will come up later in the video. But before I go into this boutique, this is probably our 4th or 5th content shoot for this client, so we've kind of got a routine down, but I set up my light and carry the whole light in with me as opposed to bringing everything in cases because it's pretty easy to carry. This is the Amaran 100D, so highlights of things that I like about this light are this locking power connector that feels very professional and secure, and I also like that the power connector has this attached stainless steel lanyard loop so that I can hang it easily from the light stand. But really the reason that I use this light is it's the first light that I ever bought, and it's sort of the minimum amount of lighting to handle this job and small jobs like this. And I also love that it doesn't require an external ballast. But if I was being honest, if there's one piece of equipment that I'd like to replace out of my kit, it would be this light, because there are so many more powerful ballastless lights in the 300 to 500 watt range, which would come in very handy for shoots like this. And I use this light with a generic 24-inch softbox, which I dropped on the ground as I was setting it up because I was surprised or startled by this older couple walking by and asking if I was taking a picture. So I couldn't pretend that I didn't see them. I walked up to greet them and pretended to take their picture by pointing the GoPro on my chest at them.
We're about to take some, yeah. What, you guys want to be in it?
Which in hindsight feels a little patronizing, but for whatever reason, that's how I decided to handle this interaction.
Ooh, were you in the Army? Yeah. Awesome. Appreciate your service. Thank you. You guys have a good one.
And the last piece of this puzzle is getting the camera ready. So what you're seeing here, I'm getting the R5 Mark II fitted up with the 16 to 35. So I know this is the lens that I need to shoot in this space. 16 to 35 2.8. This is an EF lens. The Mark III version of the EF lens, if you're curious, and I shoot this with a variable ND adapter attached. I grab an extension cord and off we go to the shoot. So entering the boutique, this boutique is called Attic Salt Boutique. I kind of look for the owner, greet her. Normally, Katie is there before me. We kind of tackle this shoot together and she handles this, but I got there first today. So just decided to get set up since we're kind of in a routine with it. So when we do this content shoot, what I use the light for is I set it up in this sort of quiet, low traffic corner of the shop, and we lay out some fabric on the ground and shoot products here in this little corner. And then there are other parts of the shoot where we'll capture shots from around the store, maybe some modeled shots, but I know this is coming up, so this is where I need to plant the light, and I get that set up, tested, and go back to the front so we can talk through the shoot with Katie and the client. Katie asked me about executing one shot in particular with sort of three models standing outside the shot, and I say, my recommendation is actually just to use the shop owner, which we try to feature her face in some content, to use the shop owner as all three models, and I reassure Katie that yes, I can execute that. I go get a tripod and set that up so that I can capture the shop owner in three different outfits here outside the store. And right now I'm just kind of testing out the composition, setting up the camera, putting it in the 10-second timer so that I can stand in front of the camera to make the first test shot. But I actually can't hear when the camera takes the photos, so I have the camera set up in electronic shutter for an important reason that I will come back to. But I do this whole content shoot with the camera in electronic shutter at full blast, 30 frames per second. So now everything's set up and looking good, and I asked the shop owner to come out in her first outfit, and we get Christy shot this way. And actually, I will show you how that photo turns out and all the other photos from this shoot after the segment. But first we'll run through sort of everything we did, because I came back in and Katie had the first set of product laid out on the flat lay on the floor, and so I went and got that shot now. So what I'll say about this is, in order to avoid using the tripod, I execute all these flat lay shots handheld, and pardon the awkward framing here, but one reason that would be great to have this light a little bit brighter is I basically have to shoot this at the reciprocal rule with the camera sort of extended out handheld like this. And because the stabilizer doesn't stabilize in that up and or toward and away from the camera axis, right? The IBIS can't shift forward and backward. It does tend to create a lot of motion blur from hand holding the camera, and that's why I shoot this whole set in 30 frames per second high-speed shutter, so that I could grab the one or two really sharp frames out of the set when I shoot these. And we're just wrapping up the flat lay here with some other product photography, and then we bring in one of the shop workers to do some model shots. And if you've watched content on my channel before, you know that this flashing light means my GoPro is about to die. It's not flashing. It's not like a strobe flash. So I actually don't have the content from the modeled shoot. But anyway, this is all the content that Katie and I shot while we were at the Attic Salt Boutique. So sometimes when we're at the Attic Salt, I do sort of a hybrid shoot, but by and large, if there's video, Katie will capture that with her phone, and I'll just capture the stills. So, but our last shoot was a still shoot with strobes, and so I thought, well, that's something really interesting that I don't show on the channel very often. And the reason I brought the strobes in I mean, not just because it gives a nicer look, but because the client asked to shoot this against the window in this vestibule. So you can see I've got one strobe fitted up here, and what I really wanted to demonstrate in this video, because it's sort of an R5, how do I use the R5 Mark II on job video, was the 250th of a second flash sync speed on the R5 II, which is a great spec that I have never been able to get to work. And so maybe it's an issue with my strobes, but I think I had to shoot this at 180th of a second, 160th, some conventional, like, typical BS Canon flash sync speed. And I don't have behind the scene video of this, unfortunately. Caitlin, again, the agency owner, she was there with me to sort of interface with the client, and she caught these behind the scene photos. And but I thought it was a good demonstration, because in the iPhone pictures she shot, again, you can see this gradient from an unnatural purple sky through sort of an unnatural green sky and down into a blown out white sky, right? That's what I'm trying to avoid by using the flash in this scene. But also you can see that in order to keep the sky exposed the best it can, it's also underexposed the subject, and then it's doing the cell phone camera is doing a lot of guesswork as to like what these people's faces look like. I'm actually impressed with this. It's better than I thought it might be, but it is not nearly as good as a camera can do with lights. Getting those faces smiling, all the details. And then so here you can see the difference between shooting the scene with flash with a large sensor camera vice with a cell phone camera. And that's all the examples that I have for today. So thank you for tuning in to see sort of what I can do on a day, 3 very different shoots with the R5 Mark II. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it useful, leave a thumbs up on the video. And until I see you next time, you guys keep an eye out and a foot forward. Thanks for watching.